Here is a brief overview of the making of a cutting board. First, I went to a lumber yard and picked out several different species of hardwoods. Started with maple, and then cherry, and then sapele, which is mahogany, and then walnut. And I picked out a couple different boards of walnut because I wanted the majority of it to be that dark, rich color. I picked out one board that had some light coloration and one that had some darker coloration. After I got all these boards together, I cut them into 1.5 inch strips and made two different glue ups. Here's the glue up after it's been set for about 30 minutes. I took it partially out of the clamps and scraped all the glue off so I didn't have a ton of glue to clean up afterwards after it really hardened. And also I had to run it through a planer and I didn't want it to get all gummed up in the machine and dull the blades. So that's one of the pieces there that has a little bit less cherry in it. And then the other glue up is over here on this side, has a little more cherry, a little less walnuts. And then I used a big board across the top to make them level. So those are the two different glue ups that I did to make the alternating pattern. Let it sit there for 24 hours, and then after that I took it out of the clamps and ran it through the planer. You can see all of the different pencil lines that I made all over the surface. The purpose for that is when you put it through the planer, there might be high and low spots, and then you can catch and see which parts of the board are being planed, and you know it's not flat until the entire surface has all of the pencil marks removed. So that's just a trick for making sure you've gotten it completely plain flat. It's really important that it's plain flat because the next step of the process, I took it over to the table saw and put it on my crosscut sled that I made earlier in the summer and cut it into strips that were all equally sized. I put a block on the crosscut sled you can see there so I don't have to measure it every single time, and I could just slide it over. So this is me cutting up both of those panels into strips. Each of those strips are also about 1.5 inch wide. And then after that, I took all of those strips and lined them all up to see what I had. And I was just looking for patterns and grain and alternating things and moving things around. And then eventually, when I had something that I wanted, I numbered them all off. And so I could keep them in the same order and drew some straight lines across them with a straight edge so that when I did the glue up, I could line everything up. And then the glue up um, is a bit of a tedious process, but it's using food safe glue that is waterproof so it won't come apart if you get it wet. But don't put it in the dishwasher. That is not a good idea for the wood. And then then I just put all those planks together. So I glued up the faces of them and then stuck all the faces together to make the end grain be the surface of the cutting board. And that gave the width of the board made the thickness of the cutting board. So this is an exciting video of me gluing up boards. And then I stack them all up, make sure all the lines line up, and then try to clamp it all down so that nothing moves. And then I let that sit for another 24 hours. Actually, I think they sat in the clamps for about 3 days. So I didn't really need to do that, but I was off doing other things. Um, and then after that is all glued up, I did the same thing after about 30 minutes, scraped all the glue off again, and then put them back in the clamps. So this is a little bit out of order from what I said. So when I went back in the clamps, sat there for a long time. Now, I had to run back through the planer, but in order to do that, I built these rails on it that were basically disposable to try to keep it really flat. Without doing that, I would have had some gouges in the front end and the back end of the cutting board. Once that was all done, I spent a long time sanding. There's no videos or pictures of sanding. It is the least fun part of the job. But I went through many different grits to get it down to a really smooth, polished finish. Get all those lines off of there from the planer. And then I took it out of the garage, away from the sawdust, blew it all off with an air compressor, took it down actually to the basement and put some food safe oil on it. So this oil I'm putting on it is 100% food contact safe. It's made out of coconut oil and beeswax and pure mineral oil and vitamin E. So I try to get a real good soak on all the different sides, all 6 sides of this thing, um, and then let it sit for 24 hours to soak in all of that oil. Um, Once that was all soaked in, I rubbed in a wood wax the next day, made out of the same four ingredients actually, but it has a lot more of the beeswax in it. That only left for sit for about 15 minutes and then wiped off the excess, and then the whole entire board was finished. Um, so here's the final product. Happy birthday, Dad. I hope you enjoy this. It's something you could put on your kitchen counter and just, use as a showpiece, or throw some fruit on top of it, or, use it to actually cut things if you like. Please don't hesitate. Don't worry about that. It can always be resanded, and you got two sides, so feel free to use it. You can also just use it as a cheese platter or cheese plate. So happy birthday. Love you so much. Hope you enjoy it.